Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome. It's 10 a.m. and it's the start of our Is Your Business Ready for AI webinar. Really enjoy this opportunity to cover pertinent topics, and what could be more pertinent right now than generative AI. There's been so much information about it. Our last webinar actually covered key aspects of what Copilot is going to be covering, and also Windows 365. And we thought we'd actually move to this next part of the key topic that people are going to be asking themselves questions about: is your business ready to adopt AI? And so, just running through the agenda, I'll be doing the introductions and a little bit of housekeeping for everyone to start things off. And it's my pleasure to introduce Jason Elliott, who's our key advisor from Cambium. He's had over 30 years experience in the IT industry and wealth of knowledge on this topic. We'll have a quick opportunity for Q&A at the end, and the housekeeping that you need to be aware of is that the session is currently being recorded, and it will be available in the chat after this. Your microphones are currently on mute, but please feel free to use the chat function, because you can ask questions as you go, and our moderator Scott will actually pick those up and bring those to the attention of the speakers. And we'll also post a copy of the presentation for your reference after this. So just setting the scene, during this sort of insightful session we're going to you'll be learning from industry experts like Jason, understand what it means for your business and how you can create competitive advantages from AI. There's also key things that we need to consider around managing culture, regulatory compliance, and tool selection and tips. So we're going to cover quite a bit today. And as usual, this information is really an information share for you. It's going to have specific relevance for your business. And when I think about that, I've got to think about how it has relevance for the Kinetics business. So in our case, we actually introduced a form of AI called Peer AI. So this is an AI-led automation tool made specifically for the managed service provision industry. And I suppose it's a powerful platform because it actually integrates with our key planning tool, ConnectWise. And ConnectWise is the way in which we run our business. Nothing happens in the business without it being in ConnectWise. So when we were looking at considering how to actually implement an AI technology like Peer, we had four key considerations to make. Firstly, we wanted to look at ways in which we could actually use AI for automation. And the things that Peer does, like assisting coordination by reducing level 1 tickets, is key. Second thing was productivity. How can we actually free up our important qualified resources to be doing more with urgent tickets and doing more with escalating them to use their skills at a higher level? Well, we can use AI to actually do the base level information, and that frees up productivity for our teams. We also looked at service improvement. If we can reduce the amount of time it takes to resolve tickets, we can get improved customer satisfaction, and that benefits every client of ours. It's the staff development. It allows the team more time to schedule coaching and skill development if we're actually freeing up their time to actually do those value-added activities. So when it comes to Peer, this is a screen which actually shows you a view of ConnectWise, which is our ticketing system. It does all of our sales pipeline. It does all of our finance. It does all of our reporting. So the key thing is that when we were looking at an AI generative tool, we really needed it to integrate within our ConnectWise framework, and that's what Peer does. So in our example that you have in front of you here, we wanted to use Peer to add and remove a user from program groups. What it does there on the left-hand side, it actually shows all of the activities that it has to be done by someone who is doing it as a person, but these are the activities that Peer is doing on that behalf of that ticket. It then sort of drills down to even the access to groups, and then all of the manual work that a engineer would have had to have done on is then systematically covered up to actually cover off that access to groups function. So without further ado, I thought we'd actually lead into introducing Jason. Now, Jason is a very experienced member of the Cambium team. He has fulfilled roles like CIO of large enterprise businesses. He's actually managed our service delivery function. He's been many years in the Cambium consulting business, and I'm really excited to actually welcome Jason to the webinar. And I'm going to hand it over to him to actually cover over the key drivers that Cambium considers when engaging with our clients to talk to them about, is their business ready for AI? Welcome, Jason.
Thank you, Matt.
No problem. I think, why don't I just sort of position things off beforehand, before we get into the meat of it. Big question that I've got to ask is, if AI is here, is your business ready? Do you understand what the upsides and the potential dark sides of this question, or this adopting this technology might consider? So, the adoption of AI across many different industries comes with many different benefits, but also potential pitfalls. We've heard news in the press about a legal firm in the US actually putting sensitive case data in the ChatGPT arena, and that information becoming public knowledge. So very concerning. Those types of things need to be considered. That's just an example, but over to you, Jason. What do you see as some of, obviously, the things that we need to be considering with regards to risk, but also, hey, what's the upside? What's the benefits?
Yeah, thank you, Matt. So I suppose let's try and define what AI is. One of the definitions that we've seen for AI is any system capable of performing a task that would otherwise require human intelligence. Now, there's many different definitions of AI, and as the industry gets together to try and standardize and formalize governance around AI, this is the one that we lean into at the moment. Choosing the right tools for your business involves careful consideration of various factors, as you said, as well as understanding of where AI is going to be integrated within your systems. If we think about the definition here and think about the business that you're involved in, then we may be able to see where opportunities are, where AI can be helpful. So if we have a look at a couple of examples, AI and AI-driven tools can be used for interpretation services, so understanding language and understanding and interpreting that. Looking at bottlenecks around problem solving, routing or mathematical problem solving. Machine learning enables the ability to gain an understanding of a process or the resultant data and putting reason behind it. And we've also seen software now coming out with AI built in that allows for some perception of what is about to happen, therefore intercepting malware before it infects any machines. AI can also be used in tools that automate parts of a process or a system. So again, where that human intelligence was formerly used, where can we automate that and create some efficiencies? We'll see lots of integrations here into other systems. Examples here would be chatbots, as you said in your PIA. There's tools to help design and resolve issues quicker.
Well, I agree, Jason. I think we're going to see so many examples of where the standard applications that are SaaS-driven in your own business, and I'm talking directly to our clients here, are going to have opportunities where AI will be introduced to that particular application as a feature or an additional benefit for your organization. So keep an eye out for that. We've already seen it with the likes of Microsoft 365 and in the webinar last month that gave a clear view. That's right across Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and Teams, and you name it. So very exciting.
Yeah. And then that data analysis can lead to further intelligent insights. So views of data that you might not have had previously. Predictive interception. So having a look at network spikes on a network and understanding why that traffic is there and intercepting that traffic and preventing an attack on a network. And in marketing, we see very personalized advertising coming through from AI generation of analysis of data. But there's also several risks to consider, Matt. And what I'm going to touch on here is probably not the same risks that have been spoken about everywhere. So I'm going to try and touch on some of the risks that we've seen that isn't quite widely known or considered from the outset. Cost blowout can be one of those potential risks. If the business hasn't carefully considered the requirements that are needed and the returns on the investment prior to having a look at the application that they're about to insert into the business. Cost blowout is quite a real risk. As AI is still relatively new to most businesses, there's a risk of a lack of expertise within the business to effectively get that return on that investment. There may be a necessity or a requirement to upskill staff as per any new system implementation. Data misuse. So AI systems are often used to analyze large chunks of data, and it automates manual processes, generating really good, sensible reports for business, which brings with it a slurry of previously unseen risks. So everyone knows about data breaches, and as AI systems have access to large amounts of data, it's not, if not properly secured, this can leave that data vulnerable to those breaches. Also, if misused, the AI analysis of personal data can lead to privacy violations, identity theft, and some other malicious activities. So a real risk to consider there. AI, as we know, can aggregate and analyze data from various sources to create detailed profiles of individuals. This can pose a threat to privacy as it enables the tracking of people's behaviors, preferences, and habits. Think Cambridge Analytica from several years ago on a much larger scale. One of the other issues that we might have is data ownership and control of that data. When AI is used to generate or analyze data, questions about data ownership and control of the resultant data arise. Who owns the insights from AI-generated data?
Interesting concept. Because if we look at when ChatGPT was actually launched, I think it was November, end of November last year, and the whole industry has obviously embraced it, but it's also brought to the surface some of these potential risks that you're actually highlighting here, Jason.
Yeah, the last one on here to consider is that data retention and deletion policies that we have in place as part of our governance policies within our businesses. Can we truly delete the generated data that sits within AI analytic sets? You know, there's a potential that this data is stored indefinitely within those data sets. And if you've got some data governance policies in place, and most particularly data privacy laws within the country that you're operating in, you know, is that against those policies, and does it go against that governance?
So Jason, the observation that I'll make, just having a look at those set of risks, these are not just risks that pertain to AI. And in your role as an advisor, and in your role particularly as IT manager as a service, you would have come across these types of things in many different aspects, which include, you know, ERP rollouts, software rollouts, etc. There are some things that we can do to make sure that we're ready for this type of change, because as these tools become more readily available to our staff, there's probably a lot of this actually going on within your environment already. So your awareness needs to be high so that you can actually then plan for the future use of AI in your organization. Do you have any commentary to make around that?
Yeah, no, very good observation. And I think it's about, and we'll get onto this in a little bit, but it's around the planning of that adoption. So as with any application that we have, and especially with the migration to SaaS apps more and more, so that's cloud-based applications where we've got no infrastructure to manage ourselves and protect. The consideration for those layers of security around that protection of that information is primary. So the data sits at the center of your universe. How we protect that data is very key.
Good call.
So just on those mitigation strategies around some of those risks, there's a lot of cybersecurity protection in place, as we say at the moment. We need to ensure that cyber protection that we've got in place also takes into consideration where that location of that data is and how that data is accessed and what's accessing that data. These measures range from automated patching and software updates and threat detection systems all the way through to the smart EDR software that we're seeing out and implemented at the moment. But it also might include robust vendor assessments and agreements with the vendors. So having those agreements in place, understanding the the cyber profile of the vendor that you're dealing with is also becoming key and very important. In terms of data governance, curating and cleansing of the data sets prior to any AI interaction will result in less bias and errors. Now, bias is the ability of AI generative tools to use previous history and base a result on that history. And if the history has got errors in and is not cleansed, then the chance of a biased result coming out after the AI has addressed it is quite real. So again, how we look after that data, how we clean it, how we protect it before we go in.
Great.
In terms of ethical and regulatory compliance, what is the transparency of the AI use to the clients and customers? If we're collecting data from our clients and customers and we're using AI generated tools across those, we have to be very clear with the customers what we're doing with that information, where that's going to be stored, and how that's going to be protected as well. One of the ones that comes up in conversation is also job displacements. So if we're looking at businesses implementing AI and the hesitation around adopting AI, the fear of job displacements comes up in the conversation. Now, we need to create and foster an environment that embraces AI, and this will require senior leadership. It has to be championed by the SLT team or the exec team, whilst at the same time removing the fears of job displacement. So this may include upskilling, cross-functional team creations, and constant communications about what AI is going to be doing for the business.
Really, really topical point. And I think what this brings to the fore is that this change is going to be so significant to many businesses that the actual process of change needs to be looked at very closely. And that's something here at Cambium that we absolutely specialize in the adoption change management side of things, the things that need to be done to prepare your business for this type of change, that need to be done to communicate the changes robustly, and then take the organization through an end-to-end process. Because like any technology decision, you actually are doing it to get a productivity uplift, an automation, a quantifiable uplift in why you're trying to actually implement this in your business. So having a good change process in place is key.
Yeah, so let's have a look at some of those, Matt. How do we use AI competitively within our business? Well, obviously, AI is very, very good at analytics and insights. So it excels at processing and analyzing massive amounts of data quickly. So it can be used to uncover valuable insights, trends, and patterns. This can influence better decision making. So the power of analytics can also be used to deliver highly personalized experience to customers, tailoring recommendations and content, thus increasing maybe customer loyalty and satisfaction. We also see it used quite widely in the automation and efficiency space. So we're constantly looking for opportunities within businesses to automate and deliver quality service in less time with less effort. AI can automate those repetitive tasks and often time-consuming manual tasks, leading to maybe realization of those sought-after efficiencies and sometimes a competitive advantage. As in your case, the demonstration of the PRA AI app that we've got installed, we're looking at the customer service side of your business as well. Virtual assistants, chatbots, or application-specific AI-driven information can provide sometimes 24/7 support or self-service-driven portals, and this speeds up response times and customer satisfaction again. Apologies. In the right environments, AI can also be predictive and sometimes intercept issues before they become problems. So in that world as well. If you are involved in any form of supply chain of any sort, AI can be used to optimize maybe inventory management or logistics and supply routes. Analyzing that data and finding the best route for the bus services is one example of where it's already in use. It could look at production processes, intercept machine information. Machine learning will automate and speed up maybe a chain of events as they happen. In the legal world, AI could assist with legal professionals in sifting through vast amounts of legal documents and history, hopefully speeding up research and discoveries. And again, these tools may not be standalone tools, but they may be tools that are directly integrated with the tools that you're already accustomed to and know how to use. So how do we adopt AI into our business? Well, I think it's very clear that we need a clear vision and objectives laid out for what AI is going to do for us as a business. If we don't do that, then we go back to those risks of blowout, cost blowout, an unclear vision of what AI is going to be used for, and how it's going to align with our business goals and objectives. With all of that unclear, then the chances are that it's not adopted correctly and we see a failed adoption. I think it's really important that we foster that culture that embraces the AI. As mentioned earlier, this will require that leadership commitment and execs and senior management to be on board, and they should be setting the example of that AI usage. Clear, open communications will be required on the potential benefits, as well as the risks. But the benefits to the business and how we can successfully use this and implement this. The data strategy is going to be important, as well as defining where AI will be used. We also outline how the business will collect, manage, and leverage that data for AI to be used. So consider the data sources that we're going to be using, the data quality, the data privacy policies that we're going to have in place or need to adjust. What data governance do we need to put across it, and what level of data security do we need to have in place to make sure that this is not affected in any way? Data is the core of our universe. It's the lifeblood of AI as well. So this robust data security and strategy needs to be front and center. Plan for partnerships and collaborations. So as we've said, there's not necessarily going to be a raft of new tools being installed that sit outside of your current line of business applications, but you may need to take a journey with your vendor and your suppliers on how AI gets implemented within your business. So prepare to leverage those partnerships with those vendors.
I totally agree, Jason. And if we just take the example of Microsoft that we covered in last month's webinar, think about those common application providers that you're working with today, and know that they will have a generative AI strategy in their roadmap. So when we look at Microsoft Modern Workplace as an example, we spoke last month about the use of AI with Teams, with Word, with Excel, with just about every application in that stack. And Microsoft's vision will be rolling it out to all of its products. So it'll become much more prevalent in those standard applications that you use every day. But the opportunity is much greater than that. As Jason says, when you look at your core line of business applications in the legal sector, you will see a number of those practice management solutions looking at AI. You're looking at the document management type solutions that are also using generative AI to produce those productivity gains. So be open to understanding what those vendors are trying to do, and also be open to engaging with Kinetics and Cambium to help you take you on that journey, because we're right in the center of it and we're here to help. Sorry, Jason, go for it.
Yeah, and the last item is back to your first slide, actually, on the reasons why you put PIA in place, and it's planned to measure how success looks like, what success looks like. Yep. So having that clear plan in place on how you're going to measure success. So we've reduced the number of level 1 tickets and automated some of those responses. Those clear KPIs will provide those measures along the way to see how successful you're tracking against that AI implementation.
Yep.
The last bit of that is also plan for continuous improvement. this is emerging technology. It's right at the forefront of where it's going to be. How it is now is definitely not how it's going to be in 2 to 3 years' time. So it's going to be evolving. It's going to be quick. There's going to be rapid growth, and there's going to be lots of experimentation as well. So we've got to plan for continuous improvement. It's not going to be a one-touch implement. It's going to be a continuous monitoring and looking for improvements and seeing how we can improve these systems.
Good call. Thanks, Jason.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I've got this pretty picture here where we have our Cambium team. People on the call may already be aware of Jason, Reese, and Haida, but I will highlight that the Cambium team is our advisory offering to actually help with you making decisions about the readiness of your business for the use of AI and other planned large implementations that you might be doing within your environment. So please reach out to your account manager. Know that this team is here to help you, and we'd be happy now to take some questions. If anyone on the call has got questions, we're happy to address them while we've got people like Jason on the call.
Yeah, there's nothing in the chat at the moment, Matt. But a question from me to you guys is we've used Pia as AI. We've sort of pushed our AI learnings in that space. Are we seeing other specific industry tools and services being developed? Are you seeing that in the market, Jason and Haida?
Yeah, definitely, Scott. So as Matt alluded to earlier, around the document management space, there's definitely a movement there to better automate the collation of that information. So if you think of a law firm collecting what in the past was multiples of pieces of paper and folders of information across multiple filing systems to create a case file, the AI tools that are being built into these document management systems are making that a lot easier. It is altering slightly how we capture information. So obviously, a lot of AI is driven off of metadata, and we're looking at capturing that metadata better as the information goes in as well. So we're seeing a significant shift in that space.
Yeah, and Scott, what I'll add to this is that from a human psychology perspective, we are in unprecedented times. A new technology is coming through. It's building upon the past. I think we as people in the industry need to normalize the asking of questions because there's so many things that we don't know, right? It's like learning a new language. If you come across something, ask the question. One of my mentors many years ago asked or said something to me, which is something along the lines of, when you're confused, you say to someone, explain to me like a 10-year-old. Because I think it's really important that we get into this. There'll be lots of abbreviations and acronyms that are going to be thrown about. So I'd really encourage more curiosity from everyone, and especially the audience who's here today, to ask us a question that comes to mind, just so that we can start that process of normalizing this area. Because on the one hand, lots of opportunity, on the other hand, some risks that we need to manage, right? So I'm really curious to see what is showing up for people.
Brilliant. One question too, I think we touched on it too, IT policies. We're probably going to need to update those as AI starts to develop in terms of defining what we're allowed to do, what we're not allowed to do with AI. Have you started seeing that, Jason, at all?
I think it goes a little bit wider than just the IT policy, Scott. It's really the governance framework that you've got in place around the data and the data protection governance that you're defining. So that goes right from how we classify information that comes in. Do we mark it as private or confidential? And then what protections have we got in place around that data? But then you're right as well. So what we're allowed to do with that, we have to make sure that we've got our privacy statements correct. and also right the way through. I know this is a little bit off topic, but right the way through to our incident management and our responses if something does happen. You know, we've got clear vision of what a response looks like to a account breach or a Microsoft breach of some sort, but what does an AI breach look like, and what does our response to an AI breach look like when it's in a vendor's hand? So again, those vendor assessments and those vendor agreements and policies that we have in place with our vendors and suppliers is also as important.
Okay,
very good. Thank
And
you,
Matt,
Jason.
Matt, just one thing. I know you mentioned it, that this is going to be a series of AI sessions that we're going to have.
Yeah.
I was just curious what your thoughts were on that.
Well, so we're going to look at running a session, a couple more sessions in the new year, probably end of January and into February, where we look at perhaps some use cases of people using AI in their business, and we drill into a little bit deeper around some of the generic learnings, pitfalls, and ability for us to, I suppose, add value to those engagements, because it's going to be important that people actually look at it as a significant change within their organization, and they plan for it and execute it really well. So that's probably what's going to be coming out in the next few months.
thanks.
I don't think we've got any further questions, and we're at the end of time. Let me just say thank you to Jason and Haida and Scott for your input to it. Offer is there if you want to discuss any of this with your account management team or with the Cambium team. Please reach out. We're eager and excited to help. Thanks. Cheers.